So I'm sure by now that the majority of you know what the iceberg trend is. It's been going on for around a year by now, and I actually have my own video based on the Pixelgun 3D iceberg, and it kind of popped off in views in comparison to my other videos. Like, it has around 1,045 views at the time of speaking. So I decided I'd redo it because the last video, of course, wasn't super good. I had a robot voiceover, and that kind of had its own little group of problems that came along with it. And I also got a new image that was also from another Reddit user. I forgot his name, so I will go down and credit him where credit is due once this video is over. And yeah, I thought I'd be the right person to go back and do this because I have a long, extensive history when it comes to Pixelgun 3D. So I have my own fair bit of secrets and knowledge on the game. Along with that, I did put in some extra entries once again, so enjoy that. Let's go. Three cat spam and 3-cat spam delay. So I figured I'd knock these two out immediately because they kind of fall under the same category. So in essence, if you played the game for like more than 2 minutes, you probably know what this is. But basically, it's where you take 3 different weapons and consecutively like shoot them all together. So that way you can get like a kill really easily. But it's like kind of hard and it requires a lot of skill. So you mainly see a bunch of pro players using this technique. Normally that revolves around the backup, the special, and the sniper categories. So yeah, that's like your go-to weapons when it comes to 3-cat spam. On the subject of delay, it's where the devs try to nerf 3-cat spam because it's too good of a technique. And what they do is they put animations between like guns, so that whenever you like switch them out really quickly, a different animation would play. So that way they like you can't shoot them right away. In essence, this was to make it harder to pull off, and a lot of people have been complaining about it because they're just massive dweebs. I can't like really teach you how to use this technique because I'm not the best at it either, but I know a good fair bit amount of YouTubers that do teach you how to use the technique, and go watch them, I guess. The trader's van is kind of like a merchant, but in the form of a van, and it pulls up every other day, and they feature like exclusive weapons and sometimes skins that you can buy. And I mean, they're not the best weapons, and they're also still pretty expensive, even if they do have the quote-unquote discount mark on it, which is normally just a lie to get people to buy it. But I mean, either way, it's still pretty popular because people really like getting exclusive weapons or asking for their own suggestions to be put in the van. Like, they want their own like weapons that they want in the van so that they can buy it later or something, and it's just a big thing in the community. So the Ultimatum is a really popular shotgun. Everybody kind of wants it, but it's super rare, and well, it's really hard to get, of course. You cannot get it in the gallery, and it appears very rarely in the trader's van. Everybody kind of knows about it, and even Pixelgun's become a little aware of how popular it is, because it was like the only one-shot shotgun in the game for a while, so that's about it. Helmets. Well, a long time ago, helmets actually used to be armor boosters, so you would put one on, and it'd give you extra armor. But nowadays, they only increase your stats by a little bit. Nothing too much. Deleted maps, very self-explanatory. They were maps that were taken out of the game. A lot of people don't know why they're taken out, but I mean, we kind of want them back for obvious reasons. Nostalgic reasons, I guess. A lot of maps are actually like seasonal, so they'd rotate, so whenever like Halloween comes around, we have all the Halloween maps, so and so. Alright, so vaulted weapons. These are essentially weapons that have been stored away deep in the game so that nobody can really use them. A lot of the time, these weapons are really broken, and the developers don't want people using them because they make the game kind of unfair. A good example of this is the Judge. You'll never see it again. It's gone forever. Sandbox dating. If you haven't heard of this, well, that's a good thing. As the name implies, you go into a mode called Sandbox and flirt with other kids. It's kind of gross. I don't recommend trying it or even looking at it. Content creators, this is pretty obvious as well. We have a lot of content creators that are attached to the Pixel Gun 3D community. A lot of them are actually really famous, and the game itself really likes to support its creators. You have really popular ones like Hussein and Pursued and all of that. People really like them. A lot of them have actually fallen off though because the game kind of dying. Pixel Gun 3D's font. Not exactly sure what the font's called, but there was an old font that was like really blocky and stuff, and people really liked it. They got rid of it for some reason, and they replaced it with a newer, less blocky font, I guess. Nothing else, really. FNAF. I would be pretty surprised if you don't know what this is. It was a really popular game back in the day. It was a mobile game where you get jump scared a lot. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's, the total abbreviation. And what this has to do with Pixel Gun is that they took a lot of stuff from FNAF and kind of plugged it into their game. Like a lot of references and stuff, like guns and maps and everything. So back in 2016 they had all of that, and it was really obviously just ripping off the other game. So they got rid of a lot of it, but a couple of the references still remain, and the hype kind of died down since 2016. Hussein. I already talked about this guy, actually. He literally is just a YouTuber. You can go check him out, actually. This guy right here. Old weapon designs. This is in reference to the old weapon designs, obviously, that were present in the older versions of the game. You'd have weapons like the prototype and stuff, which had different designs that would evolve as you upgraded them. Of course, they got rid of this and they updated a lot of the old weapon designs throughout the updates because they wanted to give the game a more modern feel. So yeah. Speaking of old weapon designs and the prototype, weapons used to change design as you upgraded them. Like you'd have the up ones and up 2. I think up 2 was the maximum upgrade you can get any weapon to. And they'd have subtle changes to them. A lot of the time it was just the design, but they took that away. I'm not too sure why they did it. Modded accounts. This is pretty easy to explain. A lot of accounts on Pixel Gun were normally modded for the benefit of the user, to give them extra trophies or whatnot. It's essentially like hacking, but just for like clout or something. Bad translations. So if you don't know, the developers of Pixel Gun 3D are actually Russian, or a number of them are anyways. So they're not guaranteed to have like perfect English, but it's evident that a number of translations in the game aren't too good, I guess you could say. A number of them are found in like Campaign from the old days, where a lot of the speech and typos would occur and they wouldn't really make sense. You'd have like words that just didn't go together. Private lobbies. Private lobbies are like lobbies that you go to in order to battle friends or just random people. A lot of the time they have different rules from the public lobbies, so that way you can like enjoy the game however you want to. It's not that hard to figure out. Back then, private lobbies used to be like used for dating and roleplay, so it's always been kind of weird. Pixel Gun World. Pixel Gun World was a really well received game by Pixel Gun. It's one of their backup games in the event that Pixel Gun failed. But seeing as how Pixel Gun is their biggest product and also one of the biggest mobile games, they had no need for Pixel Gun World, so they shut it down at around 2017. People really liked it, so arose confusion as to why the game was shut down. It was controversial because people spent money in the game and nobody got refunded after the game shut down. A lot of weapons and maps that are popular today have actually been imported into Pixelgun 3D after the game's shut down. An example of this is the Double Dragon and Arabian Dust. The Crystal Division, it's a division in the clan systems that have yet to be released. We haven't really got a division in a long time since the Steel Division, so people are really curious as to what the Crystal Division will contain when Pixelgun finally implements it. Until then, people have made hints and rumors about what the Crystal Division will contain, but none of it can be confirmed, as nothing has been proved valid by Pixelgun itself. Realisoft/Pixelgun Company. This is a pretty broad term. However, it is in reference to the fact that the Pixelgun Company has changed their names a number of times throughout its years. A couple of notable examples that people seem to remember is the Realisoft Company, Cubic.Games, and just Pixelgun. Nobody really knows why they keep changing their names, and also nobody really remembers the old or forgotten titles that the game used to have, such as Starro Beast Unlimited and Alex Krasnoff. I can't even confirm if those are real. I don't even know if I said them right. Anyways, people can't tell if the people who actually own Pixelgun are just giving their game away to different companies, or if they're just rebranding themselves. Either way, it's kind of weird. Guns and Sandbox. So seeing as how this entry isn't too far-fetched, or even that mysterious, I'll just sum it up. Back in the day, you were able to exploit the game to where you can get your normal weapons into Sandbox. As normally in Sandbox mode, you'd have a set selection of weapons that you can bring in. So whenever someone would exploit the game and get their normal weapons into Sandbox, they just use it to troll daters or just anybody else there. Popularly, the Eraser that created a black hole kind of thing, and it sucked everyone in. So yeah, that was pretty wild. The Berserk Mask. The Berserk Mask, I don't really know why it's so low on the Iceberg. I mean, we aren't that low yet, but even then, the Berserk Mask was just a mask that was from the old days of Pixelgun. They removed it for purchase, and they got rid of all of its effects. But there's nothing really wrong with it. They just took it out of the game. I mean, they do that for a lot of things in the game, so I'm not too surprised. Recycled weapon models. This is very common in the game. It's where they take a weapon and they just repaint it, give it different stats, and call it a different gun. They do that for a lot of weapons. Minecraft textures. I'm sure all of you by now know that Pixelgun is infamous for stealing assets and textures from other games, as well as ideas. When it comes to Minecraft, Pixelgun and Minecraft aren't really friends, I guess you could say. They've had a lot of lawsuits come up, as Pixelgun has stolen a lot of assets from Minecraft, which they didn't even try to hide. It was just so blatant. Yeah. Actress. When I say actress, I am referring to the poster in the prison level of the campaign. To be honest, the poster isn't very hard to find, but it also is very blurry and pixely, so it's kind of hard to make out what's in the image, but we can clearly see some female person who many said is an actress from an old movie. I'm not exactly sure if that is true, but we're also not sure why it's in the game. It may be a reference to how in movies, old movies, prisoners would have posters of women in their jail cells. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Sniper Fort's portal. In the map Sniper Forts, which is a map in which you can only use the sniper category, is kind of inferred from the name. Apparently there was a portal that was on the bridge of the map, but it was only in the loading screen. Like, it wasn't actually there in the map. It was only there in the loading screen, which gave an overview of the entire map. Nobody really knows why there's a portal there, and it was never explained by the devs. They did patch this mistake where they took the loading screen and they just kind of edited it out, but it's still kind of confusing. Lightmap.ru. I find this incredibly interesting because I never heard anything about this until now. Apparently Lightmap.ru is a website, well, a Russian website, where they talk about mobile games that they develop, and apparently it says Pixel Gun 3D is one of the mobile games that they have developed, which makes no sense, as I mean, they're not cubic games. They didn't make it. Maybe they did, which raises more questions. Where did they come from? And why are they claiming they made Pixel Gun 3D? Did they make Pixel Gun 3D? Developer console. The developer console was a very old kind of hack. You'd use it to give yourself as many gems and coins as you wanted to, except it didn't really work in the base game unless you were a developer, obviously. I believe that if you went back to previous versions of the game, you could access it, as it doesn't really matter. Nobody's really playing in those. I mean, it's not harming anybody by hacking the game if nobody's playing it. Homing missile. Homing missile weapons were eradicated across the board since an update. I forgot which one. I'm sorry. It was an update where they decided to beat down on unfair weapons, so they took out homing missile, which didn't really fix anything, because a lot of the homing missile weapons weren't even that strong. Something like the smart bullet bazooka, yeah, that was pretty strong, but then you also have the bee swarm spell, which does less damage than the flowers. I'm not actually sure why this is so low on the Iceberg.
Bruh.
Fake promises. So you mean the entire game? Just the entire game. Hot plasma pistol. Now, I'm not sure why this gun in specific is here in the Iceberg, but I think I do know why. It's a mystery. So there was two weapons. I believe they're both really similar in design, maybe even the same in design, but they were like the same weapon, like the same exact weapon. I'm not exactly sure how they forgot to change the name. HD skin hacks. Now, I kind of do understand that while HD skins and hacks don't look like the same subject, the term hacks is so broad for the game that I decided to combine the two, because there were such things as HD skin hacks. In an old version of the game, you would import a really realistic skin from, I don't know, the internet into Pixel Gun, and that's kind of it. I talked about this on my last Iceberg. The Lighthouse gravestone is still kind of a mystery, as the gravestone in the Battle Royale map, which is where it's located behind the lighthouse, well, it says RIP weapon designer, but the problem with this is that we don't know if the old weapon designer is actually dead, and we don't really know who he is either. So, to be honest, this seems more like a random out-of-place Easter egg in the game. Jbro. Jbro was a YouTuber mainly focused on Pixel Gun 3D, and he did a lot of videos about exploits and hacks in the game. He moved away from Pixel Gun a while ago. He now focuses mainly on Terraria content. Dev Lab. The Dev Lab is a map in which I'm not exactly sure how to access, but some people have found a way to get inside the map. I believe the Developer Lab is used to test new game features and new weapons to see how they'd work in regular game. In truth, the Developer Lab isn't really that unique, albeit it is an untextured mess of assets. Stolen weapon designs. As I have previously mentioned, Pixel Gun is notorious for stealing things from other games and franchises. This includes guns, which comes as a surprise to nobody. They have stolen from games like TF2, Call of Duty, Minecraft, obviously, Overwatch, you name it, Pixel Gun has stolen from it. A prime example is the Future Rifle, which is a copy of the Ball 278. I forgot the name of that weapon, but it's something along the lines of that. Anyways, they've stolen that from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Desert Fighter. The Desert Fighter was a mystery that occurred among a lot of players because of one simple screenshot, I believe. Someone sent a screenshot of a weapon in the gallery that nobody has ever seen before. It was a retexture of the combat rifle called the Desert Fighter, and while it could have been a hoax, many people found it believable, and many people believed it. They believed that Pixel Gun was hiding something, which I'm not exactly sure that's a really good thing to hide. It's not really a mystery, it's just a weapon. But in all fairness, it was more interesting than creepy, because, I mean, come on, you'd think that there's like more weapons that have been scrapped. It'd be really cool to find a lot of weapons that weren't meant to be shown to the public. Iron Sword. To me, this entry is kind of vague, because, yeah, I remember there was a lawsuit between Minecraft and Pixel Gun, to which Pixel Gun had a sword that was most definitely ripped off of the Diamond Sword. However, the Iron Sword, I'm not too sure about. I mean, I believe it still exists in the game, because in Knife Party, you have the Throne of Blades and stuff, and I believe it's still there. They retextured what was supposed to be the Iron Sword to the Crystal Sword, which is now called the Knight Sword, but that's just a ripoff of the Diamond Sword, so... Old version still playable. This entry is most definitely true. I don't really recommend doing it. There's an app called Aptoid where after doing a bunch of sketchy things, you can go back in a game's history and download its previous versions. I used to do this, however, to no success, as a lot of the older versions are just completely unplayable. Only a couple are actually, like, functioning, but there's no point. Terraria Dolphin Rifle. For those of you who haven't played Terraria, this might sound a little weird, but in Parkour City 3018, there is a certain wall where you can see a little bit of graffiti of a Terraria gun. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll probably show it up on the screen. This is from Terraria. I'm not exactly sure why it's here. The game is dying. This entry is unfortunately true. The game is definitely dying. The fan base has fallen off hard. A lot of the YouTubers that used to do Pixel Gun have fallen away from Pixel Gun or YouTube in general. The game is just, it doesn't have the same appeal as it used to. There's still a large fan base, it's just not the same. Boss battle. The mode boss battle is extremely mysterious because there's no footage existing of said mode, and there isn't much information on it either. Though I do believe it was in development for a while. I don't know if it actually ever came out. It's really similar to modes like Arena and such, and as the name suggests, you just go around fighting the bosses from the campaign. The game wasn't free. Yeah, it costed like $3 a long time ago. Missing numbers in the gallery. So in the gallery, there's a couple missing numbers or missing entries, but to be honest, I believe it's just a mistake by the developers, unless there's supposed to be weapons there that just aren't. Pixel Gun 3D Pro. Pixel Gun 3D Pro is special because not of the name Pro that it has, but rather the fact that it was the last version that you can install from the Play Store that wasn't up to date. Essentially, they took this very old version of the game and just released it to the Play Store as its own separate game, which was kind of weird. I don't know why they did this, but even then, they ended up taking that version out and that app off the Play Store. Not sure why. 2018 hacker overrun. And around late 2018, early 2019, there was a rapid increase in hackers throughout the entire game. This was a really big problem because it caused a lot of the players in the game to leave. I actually experienced this myself, and it almost made me quit the game forever. Luckily it was solved, but it took a while. People were getting banned left and right. A lot of people actually lost their accounts, including a couple of famous YouTubers. It was a tough time. Gallery number 907. This is just another number that isn't in the gallery. Like, we already went over this. Sued by Mojang. We've already referenced this entry a number of times, but now that we're here, I might as well explain everything. So, Pixel Gun 3D has stolen a lot of textures and other things from other games. And while this isn't very obvious nowadays, as the game has cleaned its name and kind of got rid of everything that incriminated it, back in the day, they had so many different things that were just stolen from Minecraft. And while you wouldn't call it a Minecraft ripoff, because ultimately it was completely different gameplay-wise, the style and textures and just about everything kind of made it a target for Mojang, as they believed that they were being copied off of. And in retrospect, There was a lot of games that should have been sued by Mojang, but they didn't get the prestige, I guess, to get Mojang's attention, as Pixel Gun 3D is a pretty big game, and still was a while ago as well, so that got enough attention from Mojang to catch on to what they were doing. In the end, Pixel Gun just had to settle this lawsuit with Mojang by going back and purging the game, essentially. They went through the game's files. They just went through the game in general and took out everything that was kind of like a Minecraft texture. They also had to defend themselves and saying that a lot of the things that they were using were original, even though this wasn't really true. But in the end, they also changed a lot of names of guns and a lot of appearances of guns, as well as just a lot of things in campaign, a lot of things in, multiplayer. They had to make it its own game, and in some aspects, they kind of failed. Pink Gem. A very long time back, they had, instead of the regular blue gem we have today, they had pink gems. Maybe the color was pink because they wanted to avoid further lawsuits with Mojang, as I just mentioned. But actually, I think this predates this controversy, as the pink gem was present in some of the first updates in the game. Now, to what the pink gem did is a mystery. I don't think it did anything, actually. It was kind of just there. 12.5.0 update. This entry kind of confused me, because when I went to go look it up on the wiki, I didn't really notice a whole lot that was really that really stood out about this entry. This update, while it did skip 12.4 and 12.3, nothing really weird about this update occurred. I did notice that this update was primarily Android only, but they also added Team Strike. They also added weapon upgraders for free in the Lucky Chest. Level cap raised to 7. What? Ghost Girl. So not too many updates prior to the release of Campaign World 4. The developers decided to hype up this grand reveal by adding a couple of Easter eggs to the game. One of which was a Ghost Girl that would appear solely on Parkour City 2018 and Christmas Town Night. She'd disappear and drop a Rubik's Cube, and that's about it.
What? Look at that. She drops it.
I should also probably mention that she was the campaign girl from Worlds 2 and 3. The fact that she appeared as a ghost only led people to think that she died in some way, and that she was going to be connected to World 4, and she wasn't. That was a major letdown. Newbie trapped in the TV. So in similar style to the last entry, during the same update, they had in the same map as the Ghost Girl, there was a newbie inside of a TV that would occasionally flash to his face with some binary and some message. Pixel Gun 3D Minecraft style. This entry is so vague, I literally do not know what it's referring to, but we have already talked about the numerous times that Pixel Gun 3D has copied off of Minecraft, so I think that speaks volumes for what this is supposed to be about. The Sheild system. So I put this on the Iceberg because I personally hated the Sheild system. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then I don't really blame you, because this event was so short and so unknown to so many people. I remembered it specifically because it made me want to quit the game. But in essence, between the 14 and 15.0 update, somewhere in between that time, they introduced the Sheild system and replaced the trophy system. So, what I hated about the Sheild system is that it was so much harder to keep up with. So, you'd lose shields as normal if you lost, but if you contributed the least to your team, even if you won, you actually still lose shields, and you barely got any ever. So people that were at the bottom of the winning list still didn't get any shields, instead lost them. They also had a different rewarding system, and I just really didn't like it at all. At the same time, I also believe there's more hackers and everything, so it came that was its own thing. Premium maps. So this topic is kind of weird. I do remember premium maps, but I don't really remember anything else about them other than they existed. The only thing I have left on premium maps is this video right here from the official Pixel Gun Facebook. Custom cape glitch. So this glitch is pretty self-explanatory. People would glitch their capes so that they could have any image they want on the cape, and this led to some pretty clan weapons shadow. This refers to the placeholder for the clan weapons that haven't been released yet. It's just a big question mark. Crucifixion. So in the campaign World 2, there is a map called Hell Fortress. A long time ago, they had this big cross that's still there, but back then, upon that cross was a blocky man with red eyes. They removed this because it was pretty controversial, but it was most definitely symbolizing the biblical death of Jesus Christ. Local. Similarly to private lobbies, you had local lobbies, which is like the private lobby, but for anybody nearby. They took this out because it was hardly ever used, and you could always join people nearby that were way too low level and kind of just bully them. Stolen skins. So Pixel Gun 3D has a lot of purchasable skins, and a lot of them are based off already established characters like the Power Rangers or Pokemon. Berserk 40k skin. So one of the developers, Berserk 40k, has a skin that's slightly based off Native American styles. Other than that, there's nothing really amiss about the skin, and I don't know why it's down so low. Eerie sound effects. So in the game, there's quite a bit of sound effects that are kind of disturbing. A lot of them you'd find in the campaign levels. They're kind of snuck in into like specific areas. And while I know this is intentional, it's still kind of creepy. One of the biggest mysteries that revolves around this entry in specific is the Slender Forest whispering sounds that are added on and off all the time. In fact, a lot of these sound effects are taken out and put back in. Unused/removed sounds. This kind of relates to my last topic about the eerie sound effects, and I have no doubt that Pixelgun does have some sounds that they do not use, but I'm more interested in the removed sounds of this entry. You see, Pixelgun 3D removes a lot of the sounds from its game when it comes to like scary sound effects, like I mentioned in the last entry. This kind of goes more into depth about the fact that there's a lot of sound effects and little pieces of audio that the Pixelgun developers have removed. Some of them have never been placed back into the game. Newbie's skin. The Newbie's skin has changed a couple times over the years, although there's two primary examples that everybody kind of knows about. You have the classic green newbie, which had a Minecraft feel to it. And then you have the red newbie, who actually has no nose, as opposed to the green newbie. In-game Minecraft skin uploader. I do remember back in the day when you could import Minecraft skins to Pixelgun, but I say could lightly because I'm not exactly sure if it worked. I never tried it myself, but it was kind of odd because even after all the commotion that happened in between Pixelgun and Minecraft, they still allowed Minecraft skins to be imported over to their game. I highly doubt this actually worked. Survivor skin. Now at first I thought this was referring to the old classic newbie, but actually I looked it up and it was referring to the schoolgirl that accompanies you in the campaign. Apparently she's actually called the Survivor, and she has a skin made after her. I think it came out recently. Pixelgun ripoffs. So it's pretty obvious that Pixelgun has ripoffs, as the concept of Minecraft but with guns has been really popular for a long time. So to bank off the success of Pixelgun, a lot of other companies have made Pixelgun ripoffs. I mean, really, what did you expect? Nuke. What I am referring to when I say nuke is not the map Nuclear City, which is really popular in Pixelgun for not only being a good map, but also being a direct ripoff from Nuketown and Call of Duty. But rather, I am referring to a very, very old video on the official Pixelgun 3D channel, just labeled Nuke. It was their first upload ever, and as expected, the contents of the video was just a nuke going off in Nuclear City. The reason it's labeled as nuke this way, and the reason it's been purged from the internet is unknown, but, I mean, it's a good mystery, I guess. Last Craft Survival. So this game was made by the same people who made Pixelgun 3D, and I did know about the game, but I didn't play it for very long. One thing I noticed about Last Craft Survival is that it didn't feel like a Pixelgun game at all. it didn't feel like it was made by the same people. It just felt completely different. I think it's still available for download, so check it out, I guess, if you want to. Mine Run 3D. Yet another game made by Cubic Games a while back. Being one of its most mysterious backup games, Krasnov Games, which is essentially Pixelgun 3D's developers with a different title, they developed this game, and very little of anything actually exists of this game. Only one screenshot has ever been found of it, I believe. And it was sued almost directly after launch because it stole a lot of assets from Minecraft yet again. And also, it copied the idea of Temple Run and Subway Surfers. So they didn't really want to get in a lawsuit with them either. Enderman/Slenderman Virtual Pet. So there's one last entry on the base Iceberg, and it refers to one of Alex Krasnov's, the sole developer of Pixelgun 3D, who made another backup game called Slendy. And it's essentially just a virtual pet of Slenderman. It's like that talking Tom thing. And I found this image, which is supposed to be the app's icon. This is so weird. This is like the weirdest entry on the Iceberg. If I didn't know any better, I would assume that this was a random app that Pixelgun 3D didn't make. And I feel like I've seen this before somewhere, but again, I cannot tell a single thing about this game. It's so weird. I'd also like to mention that this was a solo game made by Alex Krasnov. He didn't have anyone else make this but him. Like, this was his own solo project. And there's also 2 reviews of the game on this webpage I found, and they both say the exact same thing. Thank you everyone for watching this far. This took a long time to make, and I don't feel like doing this ever again. Leave a comment, just let me know what you liked, and subscribe or so. I don't